And as we can see on the screen, Old Blade Brigade, actually their only loss was a 3-4 matchup. So that was very, very close. Old Blade Brigade is showing that they are definitely in a really good position to possibly be a very formidable matchup for Vermillion Tides. And like you said, this is the most competitive group. I'm really seeing these stakes just go higher and higher with each match that passes.
Art Academy and Bio, I know this one is a fan favorite.
Oh, definitely. As a competitive player myself, I personally love this map mode. It feels genuinely honest. It feels really good for both sides, both defending and attacking. So it's really just going to have to boil down to which team can play the advantage state on both sides correctly. And as we start here, we're seeing on the side of Old Brigade, we are seeing a Stamper. Oh man, we're seeing that weapon pop up a lot recently. However, noticeably, no stealth jump on the Stamper. You don't see that very much, and especially when paired with quick respawn, as the stealth jump lets you get back into the action faster, but I guess the Stamper is opting not to go with it. And just as I say that, a very clean direct from the Stamper to open things up.
Oh man, yes indeed, a very fast start here for Old Bay Brigade, I believe, as they are the ones that are going to be the first to go ahead and grab this tower and start pushing up, looking to clear this first checkpoint, largely uncontested. That's Splouting going to come in and just put a little bit of pressure on the tower, but not going to be able to push anyone off of it, as there will be a trade right underneath the drop of plat, and it's a 2v2 situation with the tower approaching that second checkpoint, and I think this push is just about done for now.
Definitely. Unfortunately, we saw Vermillion Tides be a little bit sloppy with their resource usage, and they weren't quite able to take it beyond that first. Well, they did get the first checkpoint, but not much beyond that. And here we're seeing the Stamper set up a zip patcher. The heavy is down, but if they can find a pick on the machine, that is huge. Not quite. And Old Bay Brigade is currently 3 down. It's only the Stamper alive, and just like we saw with Vermillion Tides push, Old Bay Brigade is going to be stopped dead in their tracks here.
I believe that's actually flipped there, so it's currently, we'll get the colors updated here momentarily, but it is, in fact, Old Bay Brigade that is in the lead, clearing that first checkpoint. Vermillion Tide come up a little bit short on that first push of theirs. But take a look at this Charger, though. Charger is starting to get a little bit aggressive here, trying to take advantage of this 3-down situation, but there is somebody behind them, the last member of Vermillion Tides, trying to make a move on the tower, but gonna kind of get pushed back here into this corner, and that's gonna be the tower just riding away, packing out quite a few more points here, and it doesn't seem like there's quite anyone contesting it.
Exactly. We kind of just saw the splash and the Stamper just being really the only ones in mid. The tower was just going away and away from them. And honestly, Old Blade Brigade was just happy to let the other team on Vermillion Tides just skirmish in mid and just let them get as many points. And we're seeing Vermillion Tides really Old Blade Brigade really take advantage of that distraction. And as they push it all the way to 20 and possibly more.
Oh, and there we go. Finally, 3 down, and this will be a chance just for Vermillion Tides to breathe a little bit. That was a very strong push out of Old Bay Brigade. They're going to go ahead and continue to just try to keep some of this aggression up despite going 3 down, but that's a lot of orange paint now coming out from Vermillion Tide to try to get a little bit of control back in this game, and that bomb is going to be crucial in trying to stop this push dead in its tracks before Vermillion Tide can get anything meaningful going.
Definitely. I'm not quite sure I like the special issues on the side of Vermillion Tides, though. That crab was used very far back and very early, which just caused them to not being able to hold tower with those picks from the blaster. So I'm not really sure if their resource management was quite what they needed here, but they're making it work here. They're 1 down on the side of Old Bay Brigade, and we see Vermillion Tides take control of that tower once again, and let's see if they can make something out of this push.
Absolutely, they're going to go ahead and start to push this forward even more, but they do lose 2 of their members, but they're going to try to take a 1v1 and do come up a little bit short, but it is enough to push the rest of the Vermillion Tide players back into mid a little bit to just leave that tower alone. They're going to go ahead and start to hop on and off to try to just keep that tower in the position that it currently is, but Old Bay Brigade doing a fantastic job here, but take a look at Clem right there, trying to make a move, able to get a double, possibly looking for the triple here. That's going to be 3 down on the side of Old Bay Brigade, and it's Raphael that's going to now start leading this charge, and with 45 seconds to play, this could be the push Vermillion Tide's been looking for.
Definitely, like I mentioned right before this match, Inkball Academy is a very honest map. It is very easy to snowball. However, just as I said that, Old Bay Brigade manages to take this back with 3 going down on the side of Vermillion Tides, and man, we've just been seeing Old Bay Brigade doing a very, very good job of stopping Vermillion Tides to push in their tracks, and they're really struggling to get past that 62-point mark.
Yeah, they are. I mean, a fantastic stop, only just letting about a dozen points slip there, and just getting back on defense quick and very ready there. And now with 2 specials online, this Gryabov going to try to go onto the tower. It's going to be a little bit early, actually. So they had to get that off before they got shredded there. But now it's going to be 1 member left. It's Clem that's going to try to hold on to this tower, trying to buy enough time for their teammates to jump in, but it's not going to be any good as Old Bay Brigade holds on for game number 1.
Definitely, and I just want to say the thing about tower control, the way that the mode works is that once you get a very, very good push started, which is what Old Bay Brigade managed to do at the very beginning, pushing all the way to 15. Really, you don't need to push. All you have to do is just play passively, farm specials, stay alive, and it's really difficult for the other team to make a push off of that raw defensive force that the defending team can set up, and we saw Old Bay Brigade take advantage of that fact beautifully.
Yeah, I mean, just take a look at this though, with the push at the very end coming out from Vermillion Tides to try to get things back on track for the team. You know, a very big triple there to give themselves that opportunity, but ultimately, I mean, Old Bay Brigade just came back and set up a defensive fort that just seemed impenetrable.
Absolutely, and now we're going to be moving on to our second map, Rainmaker on Wahoo World. This is definitely, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit surprised to see this in the map pool. You don't see this in competitive too much anymore, but we'll definitely see if the teams have practice with this. Rainmaker Wahoo World is infamous for kind of feeling like a wasteland. You're not really sure where to go. It doesn't help that the top mid structure isn't accessible for half the map from one route. But what are your thoughts on this, DRF?
Bio, let me just say, welcome to the CCA, where literally almost any map mode is fair game. You know, we like to keep it, you know, as fresh as possible. You know, we're used to seeing, you know, the Inkblot towers and, you know, all of the fancy map modes that everybody likes to play on. But we like to, you know, we like to throw just a little bit of spice every week. And I think this week's spicy pick is this Wahoo World Rainmaker map mode combo. So that's just how we roll here, you know, trying to keep it fun and competitive, but also throw in a couple wild cards. So I'm right there with you. We don't see this one that much. So it's going to be interesting to see how these teams do approach it, because I do feel like that there is a number of different avenues that you can really take here. And I think that it does create for some fun and exciting gameplay. Ultimately, I think once teams are going to be very tempted to just go in for that left checkpoint to get things started, because the ramp on that far left side is ultimately going to be your ticket to getting a KO.
Definitely, and this map is very snowball heavy, so we're going to see some volatile gameplay, and the Blob are coming out on the side of, I believe that is Vermillion Tide. Correct me if I'm wrong. But
yeah, it's all good. It is Vermillion Tides that is currently in the pink. I believe they also switched sides while we were looking at that lobby view there. So just trying to throw a little more confusion our way. So Vermillion Tides in the pink, Old Bay Brigade in the teal. So that's what we are going to be currently looking at here, as we do see Old Bay Brigade lose their first member there. Raphael here going to continue to try to just keep some of this pressure up but with their splash going down, they're going to have to be very careful with this starting push because Old Bay Brigade is going to look to move very fast.
Oh, for sure. We're definitely seeing. I love Old Bay Brigade's weapon combos. They're definitely not very orthodox weapons, but they seem to be making it work, taking advantage of the Clash's very consistent kill time, and that is a clean wipeout towards Vermillion Tides. Yeah, and just like that, like you said, they took advantage of that left checkpoint, really rushing for it. Those tri-strikes are going to disrupt so much space for Vermillion Tides. Old Bay Brigade pushing it all the way to 37, and a clean double kill on the side of Old Bay Brigade. However, just as I say that, Old Bay Brigade is not done with this push. They are still taking it possibly further if they can get past this absurd amount of weapon spam through this small choke point. And as I say that, it's only the Rainmaker alive. This is probably going to be the end of Old Bay Brigade's explosive push.
Explosive indeed. I mean, what a push there. We just saw an absolute bloodbath there on the ramp, and it came down to a 1v1 that ultimately was won out by Old Bay Brigade, which bought their team enough time to jump in and tack on a quick 6 more points on top of that, and every point counts in Wahoo Rainmaker. We do see Vermillion Tide's going to be picking up this Rainmaker themselves now, going to approach all the way to the first checkpoint, but going to fall just a little bit short of it. So I think this push is over for them, but they're very quick to tighten the gap, and, you know, I mean, points, they go very quick here.
Definitely, and like I mentioned at the very beginning, this map is very snowball heavy. So, so unless Old Bay Brigade makes a big mistake, I say they're in a very prime position to hold this lead very, very well. And you can just see, look at how much of the map is in teal. They're slowly inching their way forward. 3 down on the side of Vermillion Tides. The Rainmaker goes all the way to 6 points remaining. That is very close, and they might just knock out here. And just like that, with such a great resource management and pushing power, Old Bay Brigade takes map 2 on Wahoo World Rainmaker.
Wow, I mean, Old Bay Brigade making a statement here in this second game. You know, that first game, they did a fantastic job getting all the way down to 15 remaining, but it did still seem like there was a little bit of back and forth in game number 1. Not here. This was ultimately just dictated from start to finish by Old Bay Brigade. Fantastic job to clean this one up and give themselves the early 2-0 advantage in this set.
And here we see the replay for their first push. Unfortunately, they were set up to push, but this push from the T-Tech from the top does manage to give Vermillion Tide some space, some breathing room to be able to tackle their push before it could get to a knockout. But as we know, in the long term, was not quite enough, and Old Bay Brigade took the set, or the maps, I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was a very strong counter push there by Vermillion Tides to, you know, shut it down in its tracks. I think they did a fantastic job of that. They do have some great defensive composition here, but just Old Bay Brigade just continuing to keep the aggression up. They kind of were just constantly knocking at the door, and they knew that if they just continued to, you know, sort of chip away at it, the floodgates would open, and that's ultimately what happened there, snowballing their way to that game 2 victory. So that's it for game number 2. We're going to be looking towards our third game now coming up, which will be Clamblitz Mako Mart. So back on track with some of these more popular map mode combos. Bio, what are you thinking for this game? What is Vermillion Tides going to have to do a little bit different?
I'm not sure. They're definitely going to be struggling with Old Bay Brigade's compositions with stuff like Blob Lobber and Clash Blaster, as although they may not be very high tier weapons, they do thrive on these smaller, more close range maps with weird geometry, and that's what we're going to see. However, just as we did not expect, we see a 96 gal deco come out on the side of Vermillion Tides, and we're just gonna have to see if they're going to be able to take advantage of that Kraken spam. However, they go down, not able to get another Kraken. We're going to have to see how they play this.
Yeah, and honestly, Fest going down early and consistently as they have been so far is really huge because, I mean, Kess is the division leader in average KAs. So Vermillion Tides really needs to find a way to enable Kess to help them continue to get those picks because that's really what's going to be the key to victory for them at this point. And they've been really struggling with that. I mean, Raphael has been doing a fantastic job of trying to, pick it up a little bit, but things have just not been going their way in that category. Because I mean, I believe Kess is actually the division leader in multiple categories, nonetheless. And so far, we just haven't feel like we've felt their presence.
Exactly, and just as we say that, Raphael is doing an absolute bloodbath here, opening up so many alleyways for Vermillion Tides. Ooh, this Kraken just gets some work done to trade with the machine, but again, Raphael just doing such a great job on the rifle, putting out so much space, so many picks, so much distraction. However, it is unfortunately not quite enough for Vermillion Tides to get a push past 8.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Kess, of course, as we were saying that with that Kraken came up with a big play to try to open things up for their team, but there was just not enough follow-up. That Kess-Raphael combo has been doing some damage, but it's kind of just been coming in waves almost and just not quite at the same time. So now they're going to have to figure out how to make this more consistent as we once again are going to see a one-and-done push out of Vermillion Tides.
Definitely, and unfortunately, they are going to lose their one power clam. I'm not sure if that push was worth it if they were only able to score so little. They do get a lower penalty, which guarantees them a lead with only one power clam, but I'm not sure. They're really struggling to take care of Old Bay Brigade's raw aggression and resource management. See how well they were able to use all their specials to make a lot of space for a score. Not many picks came out, but nonetheless, it was enough to get them a lead all the way to 32, which on this map, if played correctly, could spell doom for Vermillion Tides.
Yeah, they're gonna have to just continue to be careful because they've gotten a couple of good pushes, just no follow-up. And that's all the credit to Old Bay Brigade for managing to put a stop on it. They're putting down, I think, just enough ink to really slow things down for Vermillion Tides. And it's been paying off so far. I mean, just look at how much yellow is currently on this map, and Vermillion Tides just can't seem to find their way out of it.
Definitely, we can just see just how much yellow-green is on the map. Vermillion Tides is struggling to establish some space on the map. They do get a pick on the Clash Blaster, but that only trades it out. They get 2 picks now. Old Bay Brigade may end up having to back up quite a bit while they're trying to hold space. But we're seeing Vermillion Tides slowly come back, putting more paint of their color on them. However, as I say that, it is only the Splash Alive, and that is a delayed wipeout on the side of Vermillion Tides.
Oh man, and this is a huge response out of Old Bay Brigade now. They have that power clam in. They do have a little bit of a follow-up, but not much. It's going to be enough to wipe the penalty, but not add any more points onto the board. Unless this T-Tech could get their one clam in. It's not going to be the case here, but that does divide their penalty in half. So should they get another push in, that will be a bigger lead for them in the last minute. And we do know that in Make or Mar, things can change very quickly. Just a turn of the tide, and that's what Vermillion Tide is going to be hoping to do here.
Definitely. And unfortunately, as we saw, the Tech Splatter Shop on the Tech Splatter Shop on the side of, I believe it was Vermillion Tides, tried to go for a flank with a power climb, however, not quite able to do so. Caught up on machine. We're just seeing a lot of skirmishing in mid right now. Two go down the side of Vermillion Tides, only one down on Old Bay Brigade, and I'm not sure this could go either way here. And we're seeing Vermillion Tides consistently being pushed away from Old Bay Brigade's aggression. Look at how much green/yellow is on the map. They're really struggling to hold space against the raw aggression. And AoE damage being placed upon them by the machine, by the Flash Blaster, by the Blob Lobber, by just falling from the T-Tech, and they're really struggling to find a little bit of order to this madness. And just like that, Old Bay Brigade takes game number 3 against Vermillion Tides.
Oh man, what a just I mean, I don't even know whether to say it's a response or, you know, it's just consistency at this point. Old Bay Brigade just doing what worked well in those first couple games, just keeping at it, you know, making sure that their pushes are well timed, that they're just continuing to chip away at the lead whenever, you know, possible, just having follow up to their pushes. So a great job there. I mean, Vermillion Tides, I think this was a much better game for them compared to the last one. And there's some glimpses there of some opportunities that I feel like they could have capitalized a little bit more on, but they're there. They are there. So we will say, so here we go with the replay to take a look here towards the end of the game. I mean, just the amount of paint that Old Bay Brigade has on this map here. It just, I think that really just defines how this game went.
Oh, definitely. And like I mentioned a lot during the gameplay, the raw paint control that Old Bay Brigade is able to hold throughout the map is just so devastating for Vermillion Tides. They're not able to push into mid effectively, since you can't push when you don't have map control. That's one of the key factors in competitive Splatoon, how well you can play off of map control. However, let's stop rambling about that, because now we are going to game 4, match point for Old Bay Brigade on Splat Zone's Flounder Heights. This is definitely a bit of a funnier map, a bit more of a, I guess you could say, a bit of a silly one. So what do you think we're going to see here, Dara?
I do think that the blob is going to stick around. I think this is actually a fantastic blob map. You know, just can work the ledges very well, especially with such height differential. Machines will probably be sticking around. I mean, sloshes in general. So I definitely anticipate those. And we haven't seen too many chargers, but if either team, you know, has that E-leader ready to come out here, expect to see those as well.
Possibly. And I was actually going to mention the Clash Blaster, which we are seeing is going to stay here. And the Explosher Splash-O-Matic Platana Stamper trio. That is a classic. Being able to combo off of each other, all those very neat damage numbers just fitting into each other so perfectly. We're going to see if Vermillion Tides is able to take advantage of that. However, just as I say that the Platana Stamper goes down on the right side of the map. That is 2 down now on the side of Vermillion Tides, and that's a double kill from the 10 effect splatter shot. Only the X-Flosher is alive, and Old Bay Brigade have an explosive opening. Take this first zone cap, and let's see if they can snowball it into possibly a knockout.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be their objective here. They do not want to give Vermillion Tides any sort of opportunity to make a play happen here, as Raphael is going to be very aggressive with this Zipcaster going right into the zones, able to neutralize it temporarily, and that's going to buy their team enough time to get in there and try to clean it up, but no, a beautiful falling shot there by Old Bay Brigade to try to slow things down. And once again, one of the zones back in neutral, and that's going to be 2 members down on the side of Vermillion Tide. So things could be getting a bit dicey for them here, as they are now staggered with only 35 points left on this scoreboard. But no, they're going to get 2 huge picks on Old Bay Brigade now. So now this is their opportunity to move into the zone. The Explo going to utilize this position perfectly to try to neutralize. No, it's going to continue to hold into Old Bay Brigade's favor as they lose 3 of their own.
Yes, we saw Vermillion Tide be in a flying position to take back zone. However, they just all went in one by one, got picked by the members of Old Bay Brigade, and just like that, ladies and gentlemen, we have your set winners. Old Bay Brigade having a clean 4-0 sweep against Vermillion Tides. What did you think of that whiplash of a set that we just had there?
I mean, whiplash, I think, is a great, you know, word for that here. It kind of just hit you like a truck almost. Old Bay Brigade definitely came out very strong. I mean, there was a little bit of tugging back and forth there between the 2 teams early on, but then finally Old Bay Brigade, I think they needed about 3 minutes in that first game to figure out how to play against Vermillion Tides, and from there they just, cleaned it up and managed to ride that momentum all the way through the rest of these games. As we take a look at this replay here, this first contesting of the zone, a huge couple of picks here by Old Bay Brigade to give themselves the numbers advantage. The double gonna clean this one up, and from here we saw control in Old Bay Brigade's favor, and they just never let up.
Definitely Old Bay Brigade taking the set with dominance. However, we are going to see the old collegiate tradition of going beyond the set win and going for a best of 7 match. So we are going to be seeing 4 more matches on stream, folks, and we're going to see if, although they may not take the set, we're going to see if Vermillion Tides are able to at least get some points on their scorecard in the group stage.
Yeah, I always love this CCA tradition. I mean, we talk about it every time that we see it. To play all 7, it's great that even though the set is determined early on that these two teams go ahead and play out the set. It's like, everyone's a college student, everyone's got a busy schedule, everyone's set aside about an hour to make this set happen. Just go ahead and play out the full set. I'm sure that there's still a lot to learn for both of these teams. I know Vermillion Tides, definitely not the result that they had hoped for, but maybe they can go ahead and put some things into practice, take a couple of notes, and be ready to go next week.
Oh, for sure. And we are going to be starting off this second half of the set on tower control, Hammerhead Bridge, as many people like to call it, the hallway map. We are now, luckily, we don't have any Charger players on here, or else we would be seeing some very angry players on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. This is a spicy pick number 2 for this map list.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think it's as hotly contested as Wahoo Rainmaker, but nonetheless, it is still a less common map mode. Definitely, I think people have some strong opinions about it, as we do see the E-Leader coming out on the side of Old Bay Brigade. Oh man, let's take a look at these compositions though.
Yeah, it's just like I said, oh boy, Vermillion Tide's gonna have a fun time facing an E-Leader 4K scope on this map. Man, not many flank angles, not really many places to go besides straight through mid. And we're seeing this Wiper, very clean parkour trick off of the block, going straight for the leader. Not quite able to get the pick, but I applaud the effort. That was very clean. So 96 backing up with wall. They want to stay alive because they have this Kraken. If Old Bay Brigade starts to get some momentum, that Kraken can single-handedly stop the push due to the relative lack of counterplay to that special. And that's what we're seeing. It is coming out. It's going to see if it'll at least stall out enough time for the rest of Vermillion Tides to come back. Not quite. Does get a pick though. Gets maybe not quite. Does trade with the Flash Blaster. However, it is a valiant effort. Vermillion Tides going 2 down. Old Bay Brigade setting up to have a very dominant push like we have seen on the last 4 matches.
Yeah, it's gonna be up to Vermillion Tides here to kind of just build up some specials and just avoid getting staggered. Able to kind of slow things down just a little bit, go 2 for 2, which is gonna have to do for now. I mean, this Charger is way backed up, so now they're gonna force the other members to drop from plat. So Turtle King now just gonna hang out and try to shark this ramp a little bit. If they could get a couple more picks, then they will get that 3 down there. This push will continue. So some great patience there by Old Bay Brigade to slow things down, back it up a little bit, and be ready to go here for yet another push as they find 2 more picks, and this 3rd checkpoint is bound to fall.
Oh, definitely. And as the timer is ticking down, those points going down rapidly, the roller goes for a last-ditch effort, gets a trade with the E-Leader. 2 down on the side of Old Bay Brigade. They push it all the way to 5. Will this be the end of the push? Maybe, maybe not. No, it does seem so. As Vermillion Tide does manage to get enough picks to stop most of their momentum. That Kraken comes out, most of it will stop the tower. They get 1 more point on the board. However, it will not quite be knockdown. Regardless, great showing from Old Bay Brigade. Very great opening on this.
Did they just live through the hammer straight to the face there? What? How did they manage to duck that one? Oh my goodness.
I don't think it was on them. I think it was just that NSO ducked it for them, in my opinion. But, And thanks to the inconsistency of the hammer, especially in Splatoon 3, we are now seeing Old Bay Brigade push it very dominantly all the way to 1. They have no checkpoints to go through. That is a very quick recovery all the way to the final goal. And we now see Old Bay Brigade get yet another knockout, taking the score 5-0 on the side of Old Bay Brigade.
Yeah, so of course this is going to go down in the books as a 4-0 victory in Old Bay Brigade's favor. These extra games just for the fun of it, but 5-0 indeed. Just continuing a dominant run here. Even in these friendly games now, they're going to continue that streak of dominance as we look towards game number 6, which will be Rainmaker on Museum de Alfonsino. So this one is just another, going to be very hotly contested in the early game. I mean, that first checkpoint is probably one of the hardest to clear in all of the Rainmaker maps. But if the moment that you kind of get yourself those 2-3 picks, things really start to open up a little bit, and definitely anticipate that being the game plan for Old Bay Brigade. They've been fantastic in these early fights. They're going to try to make it a very quick first checkpoint to just open up that entire plat and start to push forward. Vermillion Tides, I think the key for them here is to just play it safe if you have to in the opening fight. Don't play into the hands of Old Bay Brigade. Try to set the pace a little bit, slow it down, and buy yourself some time. Force them to, try to play too fast and too aggressive and start to overextend a little bit. Punish that instead.
Definitely, and we are most likely going to see that Kraken on the side of Vermillion Tides. Oh, I'm sorry, the 96 Scout Deco, which is basically you play for the Kraken, am I right? We are definitely going to see it come into some very good use on this map, as Kraken is quite strong in Rainmaker, especially in an overtime situation. It can just beeline for that Rainmaker and not let the other team, well, play the video game, so to speak. But well, here we go. And we see on the side of Old Bay Brigade, they are going to be dropping the Clash Blaster for a Vanilla Blaster. Very interesting. You don't see this at anywhere in comp, really. But we're going to see if they make this work. And a Crack-On Roller coming out on the side of Vermillion Tides. Same Kraken niche, not a shooter, however. So we're going to see if this will be able to work in the long run.
Yeah, and taking a look early on, it actually is Old Bay Brigade that finds themselves a couple people down here in this first fight, and that Rainmaker going to find a nice pick on the blob, and that's going to be a wipeout on the side of Old Bay Brigade. But no, it's going to be the missed jump there. First checkpoint finally going to be falling in favor of Vermillion Tide. So now they have completely changed the current of this whole set here, despite it already being set and done. But a fantastic opening push to get to that first checkpoint, trying to find a few more points here. They might be able to, given that this machine just went down, but no, nobody is near this Rainmaker to grab it and hold it in position, so it will reset after all. And with a couple of specials online, Old Bay Brigade is already ready to answer.
Definitely very clean pick from the blaster on that wiper, slightly overextending. Great punish. That is another pick on the Crack-On. They are slowly being staggered. This bubble in a great position to give the blaster some protection and take their clout with authority. And this machine is doing a great job with that Booyah Bomb and giving the Rainmaker space to get on the flat. However, just like that, they most likely forgot about the beacons in mid. That is what is so dangerous about the Crack-On roller in today's meta. Those beacons, if left unchecked, can give the entire team a free flank on your push, not letting you to feel safe as you're pushing forward. However, just like I say that, the machine gets, the Viper gets a very clean pick, and unfortunately, Vermillion Tides' push is going to be shut down here, not going to be able to take it any further. However, they do still hold the lead with that checkpoint advantage.
Yeah, and with first checkpoint still standing here, they're gonna actually end up going 3 down. I don't know where Clem came from there, but Clem is just on a roll now, seemingly getting huge pick after huge pick. And look at Raphael making a move now, going in front of that first checkpoint, using these ledges to their advantage, trying to get a couple more picks there, and that's gonna be 2 down on the side of Vermillion Tides. I think at this point you kind of just need to get a few more points on the board because this blaster is not going to make it easy for you otherwise. And of course, they get punished for that. So now it is just Kleb here, just gonna shark this one out, trying to find a couple of picks before they ultimately go down themselves. And now this is an opportunity for Old Bay Brigade to get to that first checkpoint once again with the Crab and Bubbler trying to open things up for them. They're gonna go ahead and make their move with 2 down on the side of Vermillion Tides.
Definitely. We see 3 down go on the side of Vermillion Tides. Old Bay Brigade making their comeback in a very strong position to be able to push this Rainmaker very far. That's already the lead, pushing it all the way to 39. I'm not sure if I like that sacrifice. Sure, it gave them a decently good lead, but it could have been so much more if they just leveraged their resources better. And this Weber's just going to clean up the fight. It's only 1 left on the side of Old Bay Brigade. The Blob Rummers, they're going to be able to get out. They do, but again, that could have been such a good push for Old Bay Brigade, but not quite. However, regardless, that is lead. So the pressure is now on Vermillion Tides to make something happen in the slightly over a minute left in this game.
Oh man, and Vermillion Tides now kind of finding themselves back in a familiar position here where they just start to stagger bit by bit, and Old Bay Brigade starting to establish a lot more pain control here, utilizing these specials very effectively to find 1, trying to get a 2nd, but no, gonna get quite a bit of chip damage there that's just not gonna result in any more picks. So I think a bit of a relief for Vermillion Tides as Clem once again gets another double, trying to find another, and their teammates are gonna pick off the 3rd. It's just the Blob that's left standing, and they're gonna go ahead and just start to push this forward. Just gas it at this point. Pedal to the metal here to try to outrun these members of Old Bay Brigade, and the blaster comes up with a big pick.
Oh, definitely this blaster and this blaster is doing so much work, consistently getting that pick. However, just as that happens, that pick was laying to waste as Vermillion Tides managed to sneak that Rainmaker right to the lead of 32. That must be devastating for Old Bay Brigade, as that may have just cost them the game. With only 10 seconds left on the clock, they are forced to grab it. They are now losing 1 member. They have no space to breathe. They must now bomb rush it straight for the goal. They don't have much time. They only have 15 seconds. 50 seconds. 1 crab tank coming out, not quite able to find much. This Rainmaker is paranoid for any flanks that may come, especially from this Wiper. Wiper pushing it forward, looking for a pick, not quite moving forward. They have time. They don't necessarily have to push here very, very aggressively. They just have to wait for specials, play slow, and even wait out this Rainmaker. However, just as I say that, the Splash managed to sneak through the spinner and get a pick, and Vermillion Tides, although the set may be lost, they do definitely show that they have it in them to at least take some games off of Old Bay Brigade, and they are now back on the board 5-1-5 against Old Bay Brigade.
Yeah, this has got to be a really good feeling win for them, even though, as we said, it is after the set is concluded, to finally just get one, because they've been on the cusp a couple of times. Like, they can hang with Old Bay Brigade. They just haven't found an opportunity to break through yet, and they finally did so there. A huge comeback there in the closing minute to get a couple of wipeouts to finally just open things up, sneak it through around that pillow, and be able to secure the lead at that. I don't know where Clem came from there. As we take a look at the replay here, about midway through this game, Raphael coming up big to try to open things up for their team, and they managed to start to push this one forward, but I believe that was where the blast ended up coming in and making the play there. And here we see Old Bay Brigade also being able to take the lead there, but as you said, Bio, they put everything into that push. They just sacrificed themselves to get the job done, and ultimately it might have actually cost them here, as Vermillion Tides able to just sneak by 7 more points to take the lead, which would hold on to win the game.
Definitely. And now we are going to our very last match of this set, which is Clam Blitz on what I believe to be Hagglefish Market. This is going to be a very fitting map to go out on, as Hagglefish Market is claimed to be one of the better maps in the game. And I believe Clam Blitz here could definitely go either way. I think this may be a map where we may see Vermillion Tides take yet another point off of Old Bay Brigade. and pat their egos a little bit, as you could say. But we're going to see how this goes going into this Game 7 match between Old Bay Brigade and Vermillion Tides.
Oh, and we see that Z and F Charger coming out, as well as that's going to be the vanilla splatter shot as well. Fel bringing out that Nautilus. So a couple of pretty different adjustments here from both of these teams.
Definitely, and I'm very curious to see what we are going to see with this splatter shot. What Zuka play we will see them pick up. This Nautilus taking a very aggressive angle does get punished by the Kraken roller. Unfortunate. However, they do get an opening pick. That is one down on both sides. Great pick from the Kraken roller from Gleb to open stuff up. The Tri-Strikes do come out, however, it is only one left on the side of Old Bay Brigade, and that is a delayed wipeout. Like I said, I believe that this game might be on the side of Vermillion Tides. This map can strongly favor them with that Kraken roller, with that wiper, and we're just seeing them make a pretty damn good entrance here. And we're just going to see if they can take this as far as it can go. Unfortunately not, only a score to 80. However, it does definitely strike some fear into the hearts of Old Bay.
Yeah, but unfortunately, I think that, they're going to have to kind of rely on that a little bit. But if I'm Old Bay Brigade, that's exactly how every push has ended so far for Vermillion Tides. It's a one and done every single time. So until Vermillion Tides can kind of break through and hold the basket a little bit, Old Bay Brigade still got to feel pretty okay about their position here despite being down early.
Oh, for sure. And we're seeing this Zuka play, which I mentioned, not quite able to get some picks, and rushes forward. I'm not very cautiously. I'm not sure if I like that play. However, this Nautilus going out with the beacon, taking them out, denying the crack on its main niche. And there are 4 specials online for Old Bay Brigade. If they can find some clams to make a power clam, they may be able to score here with the raw amount of force they have throwing in the face of Vermillion Tides.
Yeah, and here comes those ink strikes, trying to open things up for them once again, as this wiper is going to get pushed down, and Raphael able to pick off one, almost a second there, but it is enough to start to push back Old Bay Brigade, and now there's the pick on the shot as well. So now this is going to be an opportunity now for them to start to reclaim mid and move forward just a little bit, and a huge 2 down there as well, able to pick off the 3rd, and that's going to be a delayed wipe. Vermillion Tides now back in control of mid, trying to continue to find a couple more picks. They do build up their power clam, so now they're going to look for an opportunity to slip through and get underneath the basket. Going to try to use Raphael's hammer to get one, and it will be successful. Can this be the opportunity now for them to move in? It doesn't seem like it's going to be it quite yet, as they're going to just hold still for now and maintain some position, because things are just kind of going a little bit back and forth for them right now, and they need a clear opening in order to get through.
Oh, for sure, and we may see that opening come in the form of the Kraken. Gets one clean pick on the 10-sec splatter shot. That's going to see if the Kraken roller can make more work. Unfortunately, no. We do get picked. That is 3 down on the side of Vermillion Tides. This Zuka is going to be what may define their push. Does get a trade with the Blah Blah, but I'm not sure if that's enough. And Old Bay Brigade are looking to set up another push. We're going to see them farm special. We're going to see them apparently trade with the Kraken roller. I'm not sure if that was a good idea, and that's 3 down. Like I mentioned in the previous game, it's very important to pay attention to those beacons from the Kraken roller. They can be devastating if you're not looking at your blind spots. And that's what we are seeing Vermillion Tides take advantage of, and Old Bay Brigade not quite accomplished to the degree that they should be.
Oh, definitely. And, with a minute to go, it's a dangerous game that, both of these teams are playing here, with only one power clam having been scored so far. Just any sort of push here, I think, will be the winning push. Vermillion Tides can certainly just try to play defense, but I just would not bank on it. You need to find a way to get to that basket, because all it's going to take is one power clam and one little clam to steal the lead away. And you just need to get to that basket and try to open up the lead a little bit, push them back, get them in their base, make them have to run across the map to score. They could certainly play the defensive game here, but it's going to be a tricky one to pull off.
Oh, definitely. And we're seeing Old Bay Brigade building up some specials, building up some very good presence on the map, both in paint control and specials. However, unfortunately, the counterattack from Vermillion Tides is devastating. That is a wipeout on the side of Old Bay Brigade. And just as I told you at the beginning of this DRF, this was Vermillion Tides game from the start. There is overtime, but it is not going to be enough. And Vermillion Tides having a bit of a second win at the very end, taking 2 games off of Old Bay Brigade, and that was a valiant effort from them. However, as we discussed at the beginning, this will be Old Bay Brigade's set, with the games being recorded as 4-0. However, regardless, like I said, Vermillion Tides did a great job at the end. They're taking 2 games off of them.
Oh, absolutely. I think, Vermillion Tides should be very happy with those last few games. That was a much more solid performance. I felt like everything really started to come together a little bit more, and their players sort of just really came to life. I mean, Kleb had some huge doubles and triples there. Raphael had some big plays as well. I mean, I know Kess is the leader in this division in average KA, and I believe in average paint and, kill death ratio and all that. They phenomenal player. But I feel like it just took them quite a while to get warmed up there. If this had gone to maybe a best of 11 or something like that, I feel like we could be in the process of a reverse sweep here. I think that's how good Vermillion Tide kind of became in those last couple of games. So certainly a little bit disappointing for them. I'm sure that this will go down as an 0-4 loss, but I think this is some momentum that they could carry with them going into the last couple of sets that they need to play.
Oh, definitely. Like we mentioned, unfortunately, it was too little, too late. But I'm not going to lie. If they had just found this energy a little bit earlier into the set, I think they could have had a very good chance of taking the set against Old Bay Brigade. However, again, congratulations to Old Bay Brigade for winning the set 4-0. But congratulations must also be given to Vermillion Tides for those last 2 games and how they performed.
Definitely. I mean, Old Bay Brigade has been a newcomer here as well. So to come out into Division 2 in your first season and have the season that they've been having so far, I think that really deserves some praise. They've been pretty dominant in their own right. I believe I could double check the stats here real quick. Both Fel and Amia are the leader in adjusted KA per 5 minutes. So Amia at 15.7 per 5 minutes and Fel at 14.8. So those are the 2 most efficient players in Division 2. So definitely I think that efficiency was demonstrated here as we saw a couple of those knockouts. I think the shorter the game, the better Old Bay Brigade plays, where Vermillion Tides might rely on a couple of those longer games. They just need to really stretch it out, and we got that in those last 2 games. So kind of looking back now, that's really, I think, what decided it is just the pace of play, and Old Bay Brigade got their way those first 4 games.
Definitely, that was a bit of an ankle breaker at in those last 2 games, but I had a ton of fun. This was a great set, very on the edge of our seats on those last 2 games. But as we mentioned, it'll be 4-0 reported on the side of Old Bay Brigade.
Well, thank you, Bio, so much for joining us today for this first set in a doubleheader here Friday night. Go ahead and plug yourself. Where can the people of our chat find you?
Well, I am mainly active on Twitter. My handle is on the screen at bio__29. If you want to follow me, I talk about several topics. I talk about competitive Splatoon, I talk about coaching, etc. And where can we find you, DRF?
You can go ahead and find me on Twitter at DRF_Splatoon and on Twitch at TritonDRF. But as usual, you can probably find me more often here on the CCA Twitch channel. That is going to go ahead and do it for our first set of this Friday night doubleheader. We have another matchup coming up in about an hour. That one will be between... of course, I forget it off the top of my head here. It will be Division 3 between Daybreak and KSU Wild Sharks. So we're going to go ahead and try to get that match set up. We'll keep you all updated. But stick around. You will not want to miss it. Stay tuned.